handle the truth. The truth.
just want to put up some images of Sigma Octantis viewed from Sydney with some time-lapse photography. We'll be checking out some different angles of where these photos are taken from. Okay, this one here is taken from the western side of the bridge and the north side of the harbour, And as you can see, we're looking underneath there at the Sydney Opera House, and Sigma Octantis is above it and a bit to the right. Okay, this one here, we're still on the west side of the bridge, north side of the harbour, but we're further up the harbour on the west side, looking at Sigma Octantis. Now this one here gets me. Now we're on the east side of the bridge, on the north side of the harbour, looking directly over at the Opera House, with Sigma Octantis above and to the right of the Opera House. Now the angle of that is almost 90 degrees from this shot here. There's definitely some weird angles going on. Sigma Octantis, what's your angle? Yeah, it seems to be turning up in all sorts of spots. Point the camera here and there it is. Point the camera there and there it is. Righto, so we're on Google Earth in Sydney. There's the Harbour Bridge and there's the Opera House. Right, so there's north here. East would be over here on the compass, so we're looking roughly about northeast from the position I'm in here in Sydney. Looking at the Opera House. There's the little part of the Opera House at the back there. Take note of that. Alright, this next image I'm putting up has got to be the nail in the coffin for Sigma Octantis. How can it be? Sigma Octantis in the northeast? Or are we looking at Polaris? Because we're looking more north than we are south here. If that were Polaris, we are in trouble anyway. Because we shouldn't be seeing that from Sydney, according to you guys.
For example, this is from Malaysia, trying to look at Polaris. And because Malaysia is a little bit up on the equator, you're gonna see that is Polaris, you know, right there in the middle of the screen, and you're gonna look it, you know, like it's in front of you, because it's so far away that everything is up in the sky is gonna trying to reach the horizon line. So when you see the stars above the equator and you pointing to the North Star, you can see clearly these tunnel effects based on perspective. And I mean, for example, if I draw here, if I trying to replicate the same kind of perspective, you can see here this will be Polaris based on this real image, you know. So if I indeed at this right moment, if you are going to move the camera, you're gonna have this kind of tunnel effects, you know, that if you are going to able to look up the southern hemisphere, you're gonna have the same but inverted, because it's this kind of tunnel effects that you can maybe see better, you know, here. Let me just point in this situation. You are looking like this. Yes, Bob, sorry.
I was just saying, and Malaysia is about 4 degrees north latitude, so it's just barely above the equator.
Exactly. I have here, if this is Malaysia right here, and this is the equator, so you are looking really a long way to look the stars, but you have that kind of tunnel. So if you compare with these situations in the real life, you know that the light is bending. We live in this kind of atmospheric conditions that mimic like a little dome. You're gonna see, if you're looking straight to the north, you're gonna have the clockwise effects, and if you're looking in the other direction, because it's forming this kind of tunnel, you're gonna have the opposite rotation. And I think everyone see the P-Brain videos, like this guy make a real good job, but you can determine that phenomena happen in the real life because you have the crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays. So that are tiny things based on real life that telling you, okay, this light phenomena happened in the real life. It's not just based on, you know, some kind of imaginary thing, or, you know, maybe, no, sometimes are crepuscular ray, but sometimes not. No, that is what is happening in the real life. So we have that kind of situation. So if you are looking at that kind of perspective, you're gonna have this kind of phenomena. Whatever you are, it's not just because you are, you know, in the equator. It's whatever you're looking far away in the horizon. When you are, for example, more on the north, in the center, you're gonna have this kind of view, which you know, where is you look in this kind of behavior based, for example, in Polaris, and that is like if you are looking, you know, come closer to the south, you're gonna see this kind of behavior. This is from a camera from Antarctica. When you see this kind of picture, no one can believe that this camera is able to see the equator, the North Pole, and the South Pole in the same image, because this camera, it's you know, in a really small part of the Earth. So that you have that the camera with the lights, with the bending lights, and that kind of stuff behave in this way. It's why this kind of this type of time lapse, you can, everyone that make this kind of time lapse always see this kind of behave of the light, no matter where they took this kind of image. And when you're trying to search something about the southern constellations, the official, sorry for the advance going forward, they tell us that no, you know, it's like an imaginary point. That is why all the things are based on the crux, southern crux, not on Octantis, for example, to, you know, to line up the things in the southern hemisphere. And it has a lot of course, of, you know, things with occultists, Jesuits, all the names here in Argentina, all the stars, you know, all the time they are totally present. But for me, it's something, you know, when you ask, for example, how to find the celestial pole, they talking about there is no any bright stars that make the same behavior as the North Stars. You must be take like imaginary point, and, you know, always there is problems. You know, there is anytime you need to arrange a lot of things that's called to imagination.
Right. And
I wonder when the Southern Star was part of the Southern Cross, probably would have been in the past that they would have had a star there to travel by, but not one in the north. But I've never seen any story or written history of that.
Yeah.
Even no, I don't even see that. There are supposedly like 12,000 years the North Star change. The next one is gonna be Vega, but you know, we don't see any kind of gradient of that change. Where is the transitions of this kind of behavior in the past? And, you know, because if there is a 12,000 years period, you have changed, you know, like 1 degree, like per year, something like that. I don't recall exactly the number, but I mean, in 2,000 years must be, you know, make a movement. You can have all the time in the center.
Right. Well, you know,
that's. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
I was going to say, in all fairness, the Globers are going to come back and say, "No, sir, we know that change is actually taking place because we can measure a redshift in the stars, indicating that there is some sort of parallax." Right? It's like, no, and the problem with that is Halton Arp, you know, kind of blew this whole theory away a long time ago when he explained how redshift is being completely misused, and in fact, it's more likely what redshift is part of a plasma effect, and you know, we can go into that later, but redshift is not what they think it is, and they've been terribly misapplying it all this time. So again, there is no evidence of parallax. period.
There is
None.
there is no evidence of parallax. In fact, yesterday I was at night looking at a guy who make all the mathematical formulas to try to explain there is no any parallax, and they finished the video with a really simple experiment that you can do, which was he says, go outside, look up the sky, focus on any star you want, and close one eye and then close the other, and if you can detect parallax with the two eyes, it's because that is really close. And if you go outside and do that, you're gonna see that you're gonna detect this kind of closet behavior of parallax with your own eyes.
Well, let me explain where parallax comes from. Parallax has to start with the model of the ball Earth going around the sun, right? So if you've already assumed that, then, because if you don't assume that, then how can you say in 6 months, when the planet is on the other side of the sun, how could you say you're getting a parallax measurement when to be in the same location would be night and day, right? If you're on 6 months later, if you're in the same location you would be on the night side, right? So that the parallax may just be because they're having to locate themselves on the other side of the planet. Yeah. So of course the stars are going to change. You've taken a ball Earth. You've said that the ball Earth is going around the sun, that it's moving some, half of 538,000 or 538 million. So let's say you're moving some 275 million, for instance, and then you're locating your location from one side of the planet to the other. Then you're measuring the stars, saying there's a change, and of course you're calling that parallax. But you have to start with the premise that the Earth is a ball moving around the sun. And then, of course, by necessity, you have to have parallax. Otherwise, you're on the same side of the Earth, which means you're in the daylight. How would you see stars?
Exactly. And the fact that the Milky Way show us that doesn't happen. I mean, all the time you can see the Milky Way. And if you are 6 months later on the other side of the sun, pointing against that the first 6 months, why we see the same Milky Way?
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of problems with that, needless to say.
Here is how the star field would look if we removed the atmosphere. The place is Canary Islands, Spain. The lens that I used here has a 122-degree field of view, and as you can see, the stars never set because they are too high for perspective to make them rise or set. Their altitude now is about 4,000 miles. This number is fairly accurate and matches the rise and set times shown in the programs such as Stellarium. Now I am going to play the same video, but with the atmosphere or atmosphere added. As you can see, the video has changed completely and the star trails look exactly like the original picture. Here is the original taken on March 15th, 2015. Now let's play the two videos side by side so you can see the effect of the atmosphere. We can do this from any location. They all work the same. And here is another test in France. Look at it carefully and compare it with the original, and let us know if we're doing anything wrong.
What would it look like if you were standing inside a glass ball? And he put together this computer simulation of what it would look like. And if you see on your screen here, the little ball on the left with the lines there, the red lines, the gray ball, this shows your position within the glass ball. The one on the right shows what you would see. and you would see a pattern of a circle to your right, and then as you sweep toward the left, it begins to straighten out, and the farther left you go here in these next two shots, you see the farther left you look, you see more and more that you're going toward a circle on both sides, to your right and to your left. Now, an even more recent video, a guy took a glass, like a little glass bowl, and he held it up against a picture of star trails, and he looked through it, and what did he find? Well, the picture on the right is his photograph that he took through the glass bowl, and the one on the left is an actual star trail. You see the similarities, folks. When you look through a glass, it warps the image in such a way that that's exactly what we see in the sky today. Exactly. So this is absolutely incredible. A genius idea here. Just take a glass bowl. What's it look like? You're looking through that thing, it warps it a certain way, just like you're looking through water. Water warps things when you try to look through it. A glass dome does the exact same thing. Now, this perspective answers a huge portion of our problem. The idea of perspective, how does that work? And then just understanding that we're looking through a glass dome, this answers a huge part of our dilemma. But there's one remaining aspect here to why we have trouble with this, because even these two things, there's still a huge gap in our understanding, and that is, how do we see this same pattern whether we're in Australia, New Zealand, whether we're in South America, South Africa? Why is it we always see this same circular pattern? It's one thing to understand the pattern itself. How does the pattern even get there? But it's an entirely different problem to try to understand how it is. No matter where you look, you're going to see this same thing. How does that happen? That's what we're going to explain now. Okay, the shot that's coming up on your screen now shows 3 cameras. That's what that is, 3 cameras. And what's going on here? And again, I'm linking to the video, so please go and watch it. This fella takes a curved mirror. He takes a flexible mirror, and he holds it up to the camera, and then he curves it. And as he curves it, when on a flat surface, you would just see one camera, just reflecting back. But as he curved it, the image actually split into 3 here. And if you can imagine, the camera on the left is New Zealand, Australia. The camera in the middle, Africa, South Africa, and then South America. You see how the image breaks up against a curved surface. Now, due to perspective, when we look out on the horizon, we're in the south. We look on the horizon, we see one circle. We don't see 3 like this because the perspective prevents that. We cannot see that far. We cannot see it in the same way that we can see a little, 12-inch flexible mirror here. Reflection off that is a completely different, just a completely different scale. But essentially, this is what's going on. No matter where you are, as you look out on the horizon against a glass firmament, against a glass dome, you're going to see this pattern follow you all the way around, no matter where you are. That's what you're going to get, and it's due to the fact that a curved image acts in this particular manner.
This is a camera that I don't remember where it's exactly, but it's near to the equator, and this is a camera near to the North Pole. So if you can imagine this kind of distortion in the atmosphere, you can see that everything of the movement matches very close to this kind of perspective situation. And for me, the most maybe complex things to understand, it's the local rotation of the southern hemisphere, because everyone's maybe see this kind of behavior based on these glass properties. But these kind of things show us that there is this, this effect producing in the same location based on the huge perspective, this kind of distortion where you can have things like center point, then these straight lines, and then trying to come again into a center point, because the perspective is so huge that the camera behaves in that kind of way.
Yeah. Hey,
and
Ira, can you back up to that Antarctic star trail or moon trail with the star trails a little bit? Because I saw something there that I thought was kind of extraordinary. You had the one on the equator, one in the north, and then the part where Antarctica was showing going across. And
yes.
What I saw there was, just like that. Look at that number 3, and that appears to be going straight across the horizon at Antarctica. And
yes,
that seems to me like that is precisely what we would expect to see if we were on a flat Earth, and not at all what we would expect to see if we were truly in Antarctica. Shouldn't we have that same spinning circle like we do at Polaris down there? It's like, that's huge, isn't it? Am I seeing this wrong, or?
Yeah. No. In fact, I trying to find the. In fact, when you are looking based, I'm going to pass very quickly. But when you are starting to even look in this kind of software, I think this is Stellarium. You can clearly see if you look north, you're gonna have this anti-clockwise situation, and if you're starting to put it back and trying to look south, you are going to see the, let me just, you can start to see how here form the pattern of the straight line, and if you start looking south, you're going to have the other kind of rotation. But this is based on perspective. It's just, the huge amount of distances and
right.
the layer compact in the atmosphere. So we are not, for example, just for dropping, another element run on the table. If you have this kind of behavior based on refractive properties, and I don't say that this is what is happening, but we know that exist things like the sun ducks, the rainbows, the double rainbows. So there is this kind of behavior in the atmosphere. For example, if I get away to this kind of bubble atmosphere thing, and we have an object that is going to rotate that from the left to the right, you're going to see it inverted in this kind of scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jern,
so I was
just going to say, Jern kind of showed something like that with his little magnifying, glass thing, and the example that you used, Jern, where you had something that was on the complete opposite side of as seen through the magnifying glass, or that little glass dome, than what it actually was. So, and again, the same thing with the water filling up, or the glass filling up with water, changing the actual direction, the length of the arrows, their relative position on the glass. All this stuff is affected, by the lensing effect of the atmosphere itself.
Exactly. So it's really difficult to understand, because we are not able to see from outside. So I mean, it could be the stars could be. I don't know if the pattern of the star is like in the flat plane, all the stars together. I think that I have some kind of depth, but that depth, we are losing that depth because we are seeing all the light projecting in the atmosphere layer, so you are losing that kind of depth. But if you start looking how the moon, the sun, and the stars leave that kind of a star trail behind, you can see that all have a relative speed, equal relative speed. The only thing that I imagine that the speed are a little different is because, for example, when you see this kind of thing, you can see the little star trail there and the big ones here. So if you base that kind of lines you base on speed, you can maybe determine that the long trails are more speed than the little ones. But it's, for me, it's a really complex topic, the thing of the star, because if you are not able to see from outside, it's gonna be really difficult to understand. But that's my thought about that.
Right, and I totally understand it, because again, it comes back to that nasty perspective thing again. And just like what P-Brain was showing with his crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays, there is a divergence and convergence in them from your particular perspective. And again, this goes back to the railroad tracks converging as they go away from you, and things compressing as they get to the atmosphere. All of this, I mean, to assume that we wouldn't be seeing that very same effect in the sky would be silly, because obviously we are. And
Exactly.
that has to explain a lot of what we're seeing. But your point is very well taken. It makes a lot of sense. So okay, so Chris, let's see, did you have anything else on that, or that you wanted to cover, or should we move on to the next little item here?
Yeah, I only had one other thing that I wanted to point out.
Okay.
Go back to screen sharing here.
All right.
And that was, and I just saw it in the video that you mentioned down there at Antarctica. Okay, I saw the same thing in that one that Eero just showed of the moon down in Antarctica. Now you can see in this star trail / moon trail how it's starting to do a straight line, almost a smiley face, and it's tracking with the stars that are next to it. Now when you go to this one, you got the moon doing a frowny face, tracking the exact same with the stars, which I find fairly odd. And it probably falls back to what he was just talking about in perspective, the perspective that you see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot easier to understand perspective when you're dealing with it on a vertical basis than a kind of an arcing basis, because that tends to screw with a lot of people's heads. And honestly, that's my problem. I've said this from the beginning. When it comes to that, I'm a little bit challenged on it, and it's very hard for me to visualize a lot of this stuff. And that's why good graphics representations definitely help.
And then this last thing, this is one that Bo did from California to the south. And he was talking about the doming effect. And you can absolutely see that in these star trails to the south, where you get the clockwise and the doming effect as it heads off to the south.
Yeah, that's really good right there. And yeah, there is no divergence in them either. There just seems to be an arc over the top.
Right, and then in my video, that's why this is like the southeast, and then I start doing star trails panning across the south, where you get the straight ones, and then, or where it's kind of arced, then you get the straight. You can see the doming effect taking place as you pan across the sky doing your star trails.
Yep.
Starting from the southeast, going down the center, back or headed to the southwest.
Yeah, exactly, and that happen in any place that you look north, you look south, you look west. So it's based on that kind of range of view that any optical device have.
Yep, very much.
And then the only last thing that I wanted to talk about was when I did this experiment where when I got this effect, these were in that dome. I had to have the camera almost extremely up against the lights, pointing directly straight across the lights to get them to arc and bend like this. So when you start getting that doming effect, as you're looking out to the south, that, in my speculation, tells me that those stars aren't very far away.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you on that. They certainly, they couldn't be really. And there's so many little bits of evidence that kind of point that way to me also. Not the least of which is how they seem to dissipate as the observer goes higher and higher and higher. And even though we weren't able to successfully get them to completely disappear, well, on ours we lost the balloon, but on other people that have done it, you do see a very distinct decrease in luminosity as that balloon goes higher and higher and higher, and the atmosphere becomes less of a factor, to the point where I believe, maybe if you get 100,000, maybe a little bit over, that they're just going to disappear from sight altogether, much like what a lot of people are saying is going on with the sun, that it cannot be observed in space because it requires something to diffuse or diffract that light. Exactly. Yep. So, it's always been kind of my position that without the atmosphere, you wouldn't be able to see any of these energetic manifestations. And I think those energies become manifest from those points of light up in the sky that we are seeing and calling the stars. But those points of light, we would never be able to see that energy were it not for the energy from them becoming manifest as light, because of the characteristics of the atmosphere, like possibly the noble gases, becoming illuminated or fluorescing from these points of light going through it. And this, of course, I've stated before, is my belief of what's going on with the sun as well. We have a lot of good proof that shows the sky illuminating long before and long after the sun is anywhere in the proximity of them, and this again has to do with the electric charge field that's around the sun itself. And again, same exact property I believe is going on with the stars as well. So,
well said.
You're on the sun side of the orbit. The sunlight washes out all the starlight, so you can't see any stars, just like here on Earth.
There's all the stars there, and the cool thing is about it, you can see it during the day.
Yeah, you can, and there's more than stars. You can see planets. You can see moons.
You see the gas Magellan clouds.
The most unexpected thing, I think, was the blackness of space.
The sky is almost white with the light of the universe, with the uncountable number of stars.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. Doing my best.
Who made that man a gunner?
I did, sir. He's my cousin.
Who is he?
He's an asshole, sir.
I know that. What's his name?
That is his name, sir. Asshole. Major asshole.
And his cousin?
He's an asshole too, sir. Gunner's mate, first class, Philip Asshole.
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow?
Uncountable number of...
Yo! I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes. Yeah.
Sir?
What?
Are we being too literal?
No, you fool. We're following orders. We were told to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
Found anything yet?
Yeah.
Nothing yet, sir. How about you? Yeah. Not a thing, sir. What about you guys? We ain't found shit.